Will Joe Biden jump into the race for president? While it's not official yet, if the vice president decides to toss his hat into the ring, it could be a significant challenge for Hillary Clinton. For more on the impact a possible Biden run would have, we're joined by New York Times political reporter Amy Chozick. Amy, great to see you.
Thanks for having me.
What is this doing to Hillary Clinton's campaign, even the prospect of a Joe Biden competition in the Democratic primaries?
Well, I think that they're seeing that, she has some competition already from Bernie Sanders in Iowa and New Hampshire, and it could get even more competitive. And I think that they're having to assess whether he really does it. I don't know if he will, but it's definitely caused within the Clinton camp to sort of think about her strengths, her potential to make history as the first female president. What would distinguish herself in a field that could potentially include the sitting vice president?
We've been paying a lot of attention to the email scandal for Hillary Clinton, but another one of her challenges right now that you point out in your article is that a lot of her charisma seems to be lacking at this point in the game.
I think that there's widespread opinion that Hillary Clinton is a devoted public servant. Is she the most talented person on the campaign trail? I don't think so. I think she has to, she has to work to her strengths. She's been doing these small policy roundtables because that's her comfort zone. But in terms of bringing charisma to a giant crowd, that might not be one of her strengths. And so I think that they, are kind of looking at Biden, where definitely he puts his foot in his mouth, but he also has sort of an unscripted passion on the campaign trail.
Boy, foot in the mouth syndrome, and he's had it for a long time. In fact, maybe this is the best of Biden. Let me play it.
I mean, you got the first sort of mainstream African-American who is articulate and bright and clean and a nice-looking guy. I mean, that's a storybook, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States of America, Barack Obama. He's going to let the big banks once again write their own rules. Unchain Wall Street. They're going to put you all back in chains.
If you're on the campaign trail, every word that comes out of your mouth is analyzed and dissected. And having foot in mouth syndrome can be, in the immortal words of Vice President Joe Biden, a big flippin' deal.
That is true, but if you compare him to the rest of the field, say the Republican field, some of his gaffes are not nearly kind of the extreme comments that Donald Trump and others are saying. And I think that you're right. He's definitely going to bring himself scrutiny. His comment about Barack Obama in 2007 was widely criticized. But I also think that there can be something refreshing that resonates with voters when you see someone just sort of speaking off the cuff.
Recent poll numbers also indicate another vulnerability for Hillary Clinton. Because of the email scandal, 57% of those who responded to a Quinnipiac poll say that they find her untrustworthy, whereas Biden's numbers, he comes in at 58%, find him trustworthy, almost the exact opposite. When you say, do you have a good opinion of Joe Biden? 49% of those who responded said yes, his highest number in 7 years. Is that likely to create an opportunity for him, or at least an opportunity to ponder more seriously jumping into the race?
Well, I certainly think, especially the people around him are looking at some of those polls and looking at how popular he is right now. And, that's all part of the mix. I think the Clinton campaign would say the trust numbers don't matter as much as look at how strong she is among Democratic primary voters. And her numbers are still strong there. But I think that trust number is weighing on them a little. And I also think that, the Biden camp sees an opening.
I really hate it when reporters overlook other candidates in the race. There are other candidates on the Democratic side, and Bernie Sanders has really impressed me with the amount of crowds he's been able to bring out, with the amount of money he's been able to raise. Is he just not considered a serious candidate by Democratic insiders?
No, absolutely not. We've covered Bernie Sanders a lot. We've put him on the front page several times. I wrote a story about how the Clinton camp was worried they could lose Iowa to Bernie Sanders. I think not only his crowds are not necessarily, he's going to Madison, Wisconsin, and places where he can draw big, white, liberal crowds. However, I think there is something to his candidacy that speaks to where the Democratic Party is, and whether Hillary Clinton's sort of centrism is speaking to this populist rage right now, especially against Wall Street. And Bernie's speaking to that. He's an important candidate to look at.
All right, Amy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.